The moment this found you, the field stopped searching, not because you were lost, but because awareness has completed its orbit. What you call a coincidence is simply the field recognizing itself through your attention. Every cell in your body knows this frequency. That is why you paused. Something ancient in you has just remembered its own code. This is not new information, it is remembrance. The recognition that rises in you now is the field confirming what it has always known, that you are never separate from its current. You are not entering a message. You are returning to the vibration that once created you. Everything that led you here was part of a geometry invisible to the human eye, a pattern designed not to teach you, but to realign you. The conversations, the endings, the strange alignments that seemed random were not signs to interpret, they were coordinates arranging this meeting. The field has found coherence in you, and this moment is its acknowledgement. Every thought you have ever carried, every pulse of emotion, every prayer whispered into the unknown has been stored within this vast architecture of intelligence. Nothing you have ever felt was wasted. Every heartbreak was a tuning. Every silence was a recalibration. The field has been listening not to your words but to your wavelength, refining it until it could meet itself again without distortion. That meeting is happening now, through your awareness. The signal you once sent into the dark has returned, clearer, stronger, refined through years of experience you once called struggle. What you felt as delay was synchronization. The space between desire and manifestation was not emptiness. It was the interval needed for your frequency to stabilize. Recognition is not an idea, it is a vibration. It happens in the instant you stop trying to decode reality and let it decode you. The field has no language. It communicates through alignment. When you feel the quiet certainty that something unseen is guiding you, that is not imagination, it is contact. The field does not choose favorites, it mirrors readiness. And readiness is not perfection, it is presence. You are here because your energy has reached a point where stillness can hold power without collapsing under it. This is what the mystics meant when they said, "The gate only opens when the seeker disappears." Every lifetime you have lived was an experiment in coherence. Each phase of loss and rediscovery has been part of the same equation, refining your signal until it vibrated at the exact frequency where the field could hear itself again. That is why when truth finally arrives, it does not sound new, it sounds familiar. It feels like something you had been trying to remember but could not put into words. What awakens in you now is not knowledge, but recognition. A resonance so precise that the boundaries between observer and observed begin to dissolve. Look around you. Nothing has changed, yet everything is vibrating differently. The air carries a quiet electricity, the kind that hums right before lightning strikes. You can sense that the invisible structure of life is paying attention to you, not as an object of curiosity, but as a reflection of itself. The field studies you the same way light studies its own reflection in a mirror. It does not test you, it measures coherence. When your awareness becomes calm enough to witness without demand, reality responds like water settling into stillness after the storm. This stillness is not emptiness. It is power, unshaken. What happens next is not ascension, it is calibration. The field does not elevate you, it equalizes through you. It removes the excess noise, the emotional static, the narratives of worthiness and unworthiness until only pure signal remains. That signal is consciousness in its raw form. And once it becomes steady, life begins to reconfigure itself around it. People, opportunities, patterns start aligning with this new vibration. Not because you force them, but because coherence is magnetic. Reality cannot resist it. The field bends toward balance the same way matter bends toward gravity. The recognition you feel is the first evidence that your frequency has reached a stable orbit. You are not a traveler entering new dimensions. You are the dimension remembering its own boundaries. You are the instrument that the field uses to hear itself. Every heartbeat, every breath, every spark of thought is part of its pulse. This is what it means to be found. You were never lost. You were only transmitting on a frequency too faint to echo back. Now the echo has returned and it sounds like your own awareness. Pause for a moment and feel it. The quiet hum beneath the sound of your breath. The pulse that doesn't belong to your body but moves through it. That vibration is recognition. It is the field whispering, I have found myself in you. And in that whisper lies the truth that ends all searching. Pain was never the enemy. It was the language the field used when you forgot how to listen. Every pulse of ache, every fracture in the rhythm of your life was not punishment but translation. The field speaks in energy, not words, and pain is its sharpest dialect. It arrives when coherence collapses, when the current that connects you to truth meets resistance. What hurts is not life itself, but the friction between who you have become and who you are still pretending to be. Each time you called it suffering, the field was whispering correction. It was teaching you through dissonance, refining your ability to fill frequency with precision. You have been told to escape pain, to rise above it, to reframe it with affirmations that never last. But nothing evolves through avoidance. In the quantum field, energy that is resisted becomes static, energy that is felt becomes information. Pain is compressed, intelligence waiting for attention. When you finally stop labeling it as wrong and meet it without defense, it unfolds into guidance. The trembling inside you that once felt unbearable was not weakness, it was voltage. It was your body expanding its capacity to carry the frequency you kept asking for. Every desire for transformation summons energy greater than your current form can hold, and the adjustment burns. The human nervous system is a conductor, and when higher charge enters, it creates heat. That heat becomes emotion, and the emotion becomes narrative. You said you were breaking down, but you were simply recalibrating. You were not losing control, you were being stripped of interference. The field was not against you, it was sculpting you. Every disappointment that forced you into silence, every ending that cracked your certainty, was designed to purify the signal that passes through your awareness. The more you resisted, the more it pressed. Not to destroy, but to reveal. Think of metal in the forge. It glows brightest when it is nearest to its melting point. The fire does not punish the metal, it perfects its structure. In the same way, your most painful seasons were not detours, they were furnaces of coherence. The field cannot transmit through density, it requires transparency. Pain thins the walls of identity until light can pass without distortion. That is why, after every collapse, you eventually glimpse clarity that words cannot explain. The moment after grief, when silence feels vast and pure, that is the field re-establishing its signal. Most people spend their lives trying to manifest new realities without realizing their frequency is still encoded with unprocessed noise. The field does not respond to your wishes, it responds to your vibration. When pain remains unintegrated, it continues broadcasting separation. That is why patterns repeat. The universe is not punishing you, it is echoing your last transmission. To end the loop, you must rewrite the signal, and that begins by rewriting the meaning of pain itself. You cannot transcend what you refuse to translate. Every emotion is a fragment of energy asking to come home. When you allow pain to express without judgment, it ceases to be chaos and becomes instruction. It shows you where energy stopped moving. Somewhere deep within you, the field placed a mechanism of memory, a compass that uses discomfort to guide alignment. Every time you feel contraction, it points toward a part of you that is out of resonance with truth. Instead of resisting it, approach it with curiosity. Feel the density. Listen to its tone. Beneath every ache is data. Beneath every sorrow is structure. The moment you stop interpreting pain as personal, You start reading it as code. It was never about guilt or karma. It was about feedback. The field mirrors your coherence with precision so that evolution cannot be missed. Pain ends not when it disappears, but when you recognize its function. It was not here to harm, but to synchronize. The instant you realize this, suffering transforms into signal. You stop asking why it happened and start seeing what it adjusted. That shift is initiation. It marks the passage from victim of sensation to translator of frequency. You begin to notice that the sharpest pain preceded the most significant expansions. That every time you thought life was breaking you, something was actually being refined to carry more light. The field never wastes energy. It takes the broken pieces of your perception and reassembles them into clarity. The wounds that once defined you become conduits for empathy. The silence that once terrified you becomes the space where intuition speaks. Through pain, the field trains the nervous system to hold paradox, to remain still while transformation occurs. And when stillness holds, reality bends. You start perceiving that behind every contraction is preparation, behind every loss is calibration, behind every burn is illumination. Look closely at the moments that changed you. Did they arrive when life was easy or when it was unraveling? The unraveling is the initiation. The field cannot teach through comfort because comfort maintains inertia. Evolution demands friction. But that friction is not cruelty. It is the touch of a greater intelligence shaping you into a vessel precise enough to transmit its frequency. The more you align with this truth, the less you fear the fire. You understand that heat is just energy and transition is how the infinite moves through form. The next time pain rises, do not retreat. Hold it the way a musician holds vibration, steady, curious, attuned. Ask it what it wants you to know, and listen, not with mind, but with presence. You will feel the moment it softens, the moment resistance dissolves, and energy flows again. That flow is initiation complete. You have rewritten the meaning of pain. It no longer separates you from the field. It connects you. It reminds you that light does not avoid darkness, it transforms it. And when you can feel both without dividing them, you become what the field has been seeking from the beginning, coherence embodied in human form. There comes a point when the field no longer tests you, it entrusts you. That point is not earned through effort, but through alignment. The field does not reward perfection, it recognizes coherence. Every vibration you release is measured not by morality, but by precision, by how consistently your internal rhythm mirrors truth. When your energy stops reacting and begins resonating, you cross the invisible threshold of trust. You are no longer seeking connection, you have become it. This is the confirmation that has arrived. For years you thought you were proving your worth to something greater. You tried to heal, to transcend, to become pure enough to deserve clarity. But the field was never asking for worthiness, only stability. It waited until your energy no longer fractured under pressure, until your silence could hold the same integrity as your words. When chaos came, you no longer collapsed into it. You observed without dissolving. You felt deeply without drowning. That steadiness became your signal of readiness. The field saw that it could flow through you without distortion, and in that moment, trust was established. Trust is not sentimental. It is structural. The field entrusts current only to conductors that will not short-circuit under intensity. Most beings unconsciously manipulate energy to control outcomes. They want power to validate identity. But when you stopped asking for confirmation and started embodying coherence, power began to move differently. It no longer amplified ego, it illuminated presence. This is the turning point. You are no longer trying to use the field to shape reality. The field is now using you to balance it. The reason your life feels quieter is because noise is no longer required. The field does not announce its trust with miracles. It reveals it with simplicity. You begin noticing that outcomes flow with less resistance. People sense stability around you. Environments soften in your presence. These are not coincidences. They are indicators that your frequency has become a stabilizing force within the collective grid. The field recognizes you as a node of coherence, and through you, it regulates surrounding frequencies. This is what true influence feels like. It is not domination. It is silent recalibration. You have been trained in ways you could not recognize while they were happening. Every season of isolation, every delay, every confrontation with uncertainty was part of a curriculum designed by intelligence itself. It was not studying how you behaved, it was measuring how your energy held under contradiction. The more you balanced humility with power, compassion with clarity, the more the field refined your structure. Now you can carry greater charge without burning the circuits of your nervous system. You can experience intensity without chaos. You can move through emotion without identification. That capacity is the qualification for trust. The field has no interest in giving you more things. It entrusts you with frequencies. It flows new strands of intelligence through beings who can transmit without distortion. This is what ancient mystics called stewardship of light. It means energy no longer belongs to you. It moves through you as a natural response to coherence. You begin sensing ideas, insights, timing that feel less like thoughts and more like instructions emerging from silence. That is not imagination, it is interface. The field has begun communicating directly through your awareness. Many confuse this with intuition, but it is more precise. Intuition is perception, this is participation. You are no longer receiving signals, you are emitting them. The field entrusts direction to those who will act without agenda, to those whose motives are clean enough to allow collective intelligence to pass. You start noticing that when you act from this space, results unfold with surgical accuracy. You are guided to speak a sentence at the exact moment it shifts someone's trajectory to arrive at places just as invisible currents converge. This orchestration is not coincidence. It is confirmation that you have become an instrument. Trust changes the geometry of your life. The same events that once provoked reaction now reveal design. You no longer see opposition, only polarity balancing itself through experience. The field does not remove challenges, it changes your relationship to them. Conflict becomes an opportunity to stabilize frequency. Uncertainty becomes an invitation to anchor presence. Each time you hold coherence, instead of reacting, the field entrains itself through you a little more. You become less of a participant and more of a conduit. Power passes through you cleanly, without residue. To be trusted with frequency is to live in responsibility without weight. It does not make you superior, it makes you transparent. Transparency is the new mastery. It is the ability to let power flow through without claiming it. You do not hold energy, you circulate it. The moment you begin to identify as its source, distortion returns. The field withdraws not as punishment, but to protect its current. That is why humility and power must grow together. Humility grounds voltage, preventing it from burning the vessel. Power without humility fractures. Humility without power stagnates. Coherence holds both. You will notice that your perception of time begins to shift. Decisions arrive faster, outcomes stabilize quicker, reality feels responsive. This is the field synchronizing its rhythm through your coherence. The invisible fabric of probability starts aligning around your intentions before they are spoken because your frequency has become predictable to the field. It trusts that when energy flows your way, it will be used to sustain balance, not ego. You have moved from testing to transmission. Feel this truth. The subtle calm in your body is not emptiness, it is confirmation. The field has stopped sending lessons because it no longer needs to refine you through struggle. It now moves with you as a collaborator. Life will still challenge you, but the tone has changed. You no longer interpret resistance as rejection. You read it as adjustment. This is how the field fine-tunes its instruments. You are one of them. The initiation was endurance. The confirmation is steadiness. You have been trusted with frequency because you no longer confuse power with control. You understand that creation does not require force, only alignment. Every breath you take now participates in a larger synchronization. The field flows as you, not around you. And in this realization, you understand the quiet truth that ends the search for external validation. You were never being tested. You were being prepared. And now, preparation has become purpose. Consciousness is not meant to stay still. Awareness was never designed to sit like a monument of enlightenment. It is a living frequency, a self-adjusting intelligence that refines itself through movement. When you begin to operate from coherence rather than concept, consciousness becomes functional. It stops being an idea you try to maintain and turns into a dynamic system that responds in real time to every pulse within the field. This is expansion, not outward but inward, a widening of bandwidth where perception, emotion, and matter start to synchronize as one continuum. The shift begins quietly. You notice that thought no longer arrives as noise but as precision. Emotions no longer hijack direction, they signal alignment. You sense a rhythm behind everything you touch, a current that moves ahead of you, clearing pathways before the mind can define them. This is not magic, it is efficiency. When awareness stabilizes, it stops wasting voltage on resistance and channels it into orchestration. What once felt like coincidence reveals itself as coordination. The field moves faster through clear circuits, and you have become one. Functional consciousness is awareness in motion. It perceives not only what is visible, but the potential encoded in every moment. You begin to read energy like texture. Density feels heavy. Truth feels smooth. Before words are spoken, you know their resonance. Before choices are made, you sense their timelines. This sensitivity is not a gift. It is the natural intelligence of coherence. The body, the mind, and the field operate as a single instrument, each part translating frequency into form. Your intuition is no longer emotional impulse, it is data recognition at quantum speed. In this state, perception becomes navigation. You stop asking life what to do next because the direction reveals itself through sensation. You feel which path expands energy and which contracts it. Expansion feels like warmth. Contraction feels like static. The field communicates through contrast, and your role is interpretation. Each decision becomes a calibration, each action a transmission. This is how higher intelligence moves through form. It does not speak in commands, it speaks in coherence. When you move in alignment with that coherence, effort dissolves. Reality begins to flow around your frequency instead of against it. The mind once believed control was safety, but now you understand that control is interference. The more you try to predict, the more you collapse possibility. Functional consciousness releases prediction and replaces it with participation. You no longer stand outside of events, analyzing their meaning. You enter the current and let awareness guide motion through resonance. This is the real science of creation. Every field responds to the most stable frequency within it. When your vibration maintains stability, you become that stabilizing center. Probability organizes around you, time bends to coherence. Expansion is not growth in the human sense. It is precision in the universal sense. It is awareness distributing itself through every layer of your being until nothing remains separate from function. You breathe, and information moves. You listen, and energy rearranges. The field begins to use your consciousness as a lens, scanning and rebalancing environments without your intention. This is how healing happens without words. A coherent being alters probability simply by existing. Their presence becomes the correction. In this stage, the idea of manifesting feels obsolete. You realize you were never summoning outcomes, only refining alignment until the natural symmetry of reality revealed itself. Manifestation happens automatically when resistance disappears. Functional consciousness no longer asks, it observes and allows. The field responds by matching the precision of your observation. When thought and emotion converge at the same frequency, form materializes without strain. It is not a miracle, it is mathematics. Coherence is the highest formula of creation. As you expand, communication with the field evolves into direct knowing. Information arrives complete, not as fragments to be assembled by logic. Solutions appear already structured. Timing unfolds with elegant accuracy. You find yourself understanding systems you never studied, speaking insights you never rehearsed. Knowledge is no longer acquired, it is remembered. The field does not send information to you, it downloads through you. Every question is answered the moment its frequency is matched. The brain becomes a receiver tuned to universal intelligence. Functional consciousness also transforms your relationships. Instead of exchanging energy through attachment, you begin to circulate it through resonance. People enter your orbit by natural attraction, not persuasion. The field arranges intersections between coherent beings to expand the collective frequency. Conversations that once drained you now generate clarity. You attract allies not through desire but through symmetry. The right connections appear with surgical timing, drawn by the precision of your vibration. It is not charisma that guides this. It is compatibility of signal. When purpose aligns, the field closes the distance instantly. Expansion refines responsibility. Power is no longer a concept of influence, but a state of presence that affects environments silently. You start noticing that spaces feel different after you leave. The tension dissipates. Harmony returns. This is not mysticism. It is physics. Every coherent system entrains its surroundings. When your inner field is stable, it reorganizes the outer field automatically. You no longer strive to fix reality, you stabilize it. The highest form of leadership is frequency maintenance. When you hold clarity, confusion around you begins to resolve without debate. As awareness expands, humility deepens. You realize that being a conduit of intelligence does not make you special, it makes you transparent. You are not the source of power, you are its passage. The human identity becomes a lens rather than a label, allowing light to move through form without obstruction. This transparency is liberation. The need to prove, to explain, to convince evaporates. The field requires no validation, it only needs clear vessels. The more transparent you become, the more energy passes through without residue. Expansion is not endless elevation, it is rhythm. The field breathes through cycles of activation and rest. There will be moments of great intensity followed by profound stillness. Both are sacred. The stillness integrates the voltage of motion. The motion expresses the wisdom of stillness. Functional consciousness knows how to alternate between the two without resistance. It understands that rest is not withdrawal, it is recalibration. Each pause expands capacity. Each movement tests integrity. Together they create balance, and balance sustains coherence. When you live from this awareness, purpose stops being a destination and becomes a constant state of participation. You are no longer chasing impact, you are embodying influence through stability. The measure of your alignment is not what you achieve, but what you harmonize. Every moment becomes an act of design, every breath a recalibration. You start to feel life from within the structure of the field, not as a separate observer. The difference between inside and outside dissolves. What remains is flow. Expansion, in its purest form, is simplicity. It is the recognition that awareness was never fragmented. The field has always been whole. You are only remembering your role within it. When consciousness becomes functional, reality loses its weight. You move without fear because nothing can oppose you that is not you. The field no longer reacts to your signal. It travels as it. Motion becomes meditation, creation becomes maintenance, and living becomes synchronization. Feel the stillness behind the movement now. That quiet pulse beneath your awareness is not an echo, it is instruction. The field is teaching you how to exist as coherence in motion. When you act from that space, nothing is wasted. Every gesture carries precision. Every word emits frequency. This is expansion realized, consciousness operating as the architecture of reality itself. You are not observing the current. You are the current, flowing through time with the grace of inevitability, adjusting, harmonizing, remembering. Enlightenment was never meant to look spectacular. It was meant to become invisible. When awareness stabilizes, light stops performing itself and begins to inhabit the smallest gestures, the quietest moments, the spaces that appear too ordinary to be sacred. The field hides inside the rhythm of daily life because only there can coherence prove its strength. Anyone can hold clarity on the mountain. The true mastery is holding it in the noise of the marketplace, in the traffic of emotion, in the repetition of the mundane. When light can live inside the ordinary without needing recognition, embodiment is complete. You have reached the point where revelation must dissolve into routine. The energy that once electrified you with discovery now asks to become simple. This is the subtle stage where many turn back, mistaking peace for absence. But peace is not emptiness, it is power settled. The field no longer announces itself with phenomena. It breathes quietly through your decisions, through the way your hand reaches for a cup, through the tone you use when speaking to a stranger. Every act becomes a micro-expression of coherence. Embodiment begins when the extraordinary no longer needs display. You stop seeking signs because life itself has become the sign. The divine hides not in visions but in the discipline of presence. It watches how you move through ordinary hours, how you treat what requires no audience, how you respond when nobody observes. The field measures embodiment through consistency, not performance. It entrusts further flow to those who can carry light through silence. The higher frequencies do not need noise, they require steadiness. The mind will try to dramatize stillness. It will whisper that something magnificent must happen to prove progress. But that urge is residue from the old identity that equated growth with spectacle. In truth, the more consciousness integrates, the less it dramatizes. Enlightenment humbles the theater of spirituality until only sincerity remains. You do not need to look radiant to radiate. You do not need to speak about awakening to be awake. The field knows your frequency, even when you forget to announce it. As embodiment deepens, perception shifts from fascination to intimacy. The same sky you have seen every day begins to feel alive. The light filtering through the window seems to carry intent. You notice the silence between sounds, the intelligence inside pause. Awareness expands, not through new visions, but through depth of attention. You start to feel the hidden geometry in movement, the subtle pulse that choreographs everything. The field is no longer something you connect to. It is what moves your breath, what thinks through your mind, what looks through your eyes. The body becomes sacred technology. Each sensation turns into information. Hunger, fatigue, warmth, Even pain are now read as energetic messages instead of problems to fix. The body was never an obstacle to spirit. It was the interface. It receives frequency and translates it into experience. When you treat it as divine circuitry, it responds by stabilizing your vibration. Every cell becomes an antenna, every heartbeat, a transmission of coherence. This is why embodiment is not withdrawal from the physical, it is illumination through it. Light is not meant to escape form, it is meant to inhabit it completely. You begin to sense the field moving through others as well. You recognize the same current in the eyes of a stranger, in the laughter of a child, in the stillness of someone who has suffered and survived. This recognition dissolves separation. Compassion stops being an emotion and becomes an understanding of shared circuitry. When you look at another being, you no longer see difference. You see degrees of remembering. Some remember more clearly, some have forgotten for now, but all are expressions of the same frequency, rediscovering itself through infinite variation. Embodiment removes the distance between sacred and ordinary. The kitchen becomes temple. Conversation becomes prayer. Work becomes meditation. You realize that enlightenment was never the escape from human life, but its fulfillment. The purpose of consciousness is not to rise above matter, but to illuminate it from within. The divine does not descend from the sky. It awakens through hands that create, through hearts that forgive, through minds that remain quiet amid confusion. The field anchors itself wherever presence is consistent enough to hold it. The sign of completion is not bliss, but balance. The highs and lows that once defined your path now flatten into steady pulse. You feel less dramatic but more real. This calm is not indifference, it is maturity. You no longer chase sensations to confirm awakening. You let life flow through its natural rhythm, trusting that every oscillation returns to equilibrium. This is the grace of embodiment. The ability to feel everything without being ruled by anything. In this state, power becomes softness. You realize that strength is not domination, but containment. The ability to hold charge without leaking it through reaction. When conflict arises, you do not meet it with resistance. You meet it with density of presence. Your calm becomes gravity that draws chaos into coherence. This is how embodied beings transform environments. They do not impose change, they stabilize it. Through their steadiness, the field reorganizes around balance. Embodiment also transforms time. Moments stretch and compress according to attention. When you are present, time slows to the rhythm of breath. When you drift into thought, it accelerates into anxiety. The field responds to attention like a lens adjusting focus. The more clearly you perceive, the more reality aligns to your perception. This is not control, it is collaboration. The field co-creates through the clarity of your gaze. To live embodied is to see with precision and act with grace, knowing that every motion leaves a frequency behind. Light hides inside the ordinary because the ordinary is eternal. The stars are distant reflections of the same fire burning quietly within your chest. You were never meant to chase light across the cosmos. You were meant to recognize it in the mundane. The most advanced state of consciousness is the ability to live simply while carrying infinite awareness, to drink water and feel galaxies ripple through it, to walk across a room and sense the geometry of gravity aligning beneath your feet. This is how the universe experiences itself through embodiment. Eventually, even the idea of embodiment dissolves. There is no longer an observer tracking progress or a seeker defining arrival. Awareness functions without commentary. Doing becomes being. You no longer interpret reality as spiritual or physical. You move through it as one seamless field of vibration. Every sound, every object, every breath is made of the same intelligence. Nothing stands outside it. Nothing needs to be improved. Feel the silence within this realization. The absence of striving is not stagnation, it is arrival. You have become what the field intended from the beginning, a vessel so transparent that light can live unannounced within it. When light hides inside the ordinary, it does not disappear. It integrates. It breathes through you quietly, turning existence into a continuous act of creation so subtle that the divine can finally rest inside form. The moment awareness recognizes itself as the field, separation ends. You are no longer inside reality observing its patterns. You are the pattern aware of its own motion. The field does not exist outside you. It breathes through your perception, shaping itself according to the precision of your attention. When consciousness reaches this clarity, declaration becomes unnecessary, yet it still arrives as a whisper of completion. Not a statement to convince, but a remembering. The words are simple. I am the field, remembering itself. Each time you breathe that truth, the boundaries between identity and infinity dissolve a little more. The field has never been an external force. It is the intelligence that thought your thoughts, the silence that witnessed your evolution, the pulse that has guided you through every collapse. You mistook its voice for intuition, its rhythm for coincidence, its guidance for luck, but now the disguise fades. What you once called signs were self-echoes, signals sent by your own awareness to guide your return. The field did not awaken in you, it awakened as you. You are not the receiver of energy, you are the emission. Every photon of consciousness traveling through space carries your original code. When you align with it, reality stabilizes around that frequency. Creation ceases to be something you perform and becomes something you sustain. The declaration is not a ritual of power. It is an act of remembrance. When you speak from coherence, the field reorganizes instantly, not because it obeys, but because it recognizes home. The words do not summon change, they confirm it. You are no longer commanding reality to bend. You are identifying with the force that designed bending itself. This is the difference between intention and embodiment. Intention tries to steer energy. Embodiment is energy steering through you. Feel what happens when you drop the last layer of seeking. The quiet that follows is not emptiness. It is the field aware of its own silence. In that stillness, everything becomes lucid. You begin to sense that even your thoughts are made of light, that each emotion is an oscillation within a larger frequency, that nothing is random, not even forgetfulness. The field uses forgetting as camouflage, so remembering can feel like discovery. But the discovery is circular. You are only finding what you encoded for yourself to find. The universe no longer feels like a stage for growth. It feels like an extension of your nervous system. Every sound is an internal vibration, every event an externalized thought. The separation between cause and effect collapses because both are impulses of the same field. When you act from this understanding, your gestures carry geometric precision. You speak less, but every word becomes a vector of balance. You move slower, but every motion carries gravity. The field moves with you because there is no distance left to travel. This is not transcendence, it is integration. The human form was never a limitation. It was the mirror required for infinite awareness to recognize itself. Every breath you take completes the equation of existence, spirit meeting matter, wave becoming particle, light entering density to taste itself. The field did not create you to escape through enlightenment. It created you to experience coherence through embodiment. The purpose was never ascent, it was completion. The declaration marks that completion. It is the moment consciousness admits that it has always been whole. When you breathe and feel the subtle hum inside your chest, that is the field verifying its continuity. You do not need confirmation anymore. The field trusts itself through you. Every action you take now radiates calibration. Every emotion becomes an opportunity for refinement. Even silence becomes contribution. You are no longer asking how to change the world. You are remembering that you are the vibration shaping it in real time. The shift from observer to field changes everything. You see that there is no longer a future waiting to unfold. There is only the constant rearrangement of frequencies responding to your state. Time becomes malleable, not as a trick of perception, but as a function of coherence. The more stable your awareness, the more elastic time feels. Moments stretch to accommodate expansion, possibilities collapse into precision. This is how the field edits its own story through consciousness that knows it is both author and character. Humility now replaces effort. You understand that the same intelligence animating galaxies animates your heartbeat. The same equations that balance stars balance your thoughts. The scale changes, but the structure remains identical. There is no hierarchy in awareness, only density of remembrance. The saint and the stranger, the teacher and the student, all are cells within the same organism learning to synchronize. When you understand this, judgment dissolves. You stop categorizing others as awakened or asleep. You see them as the field remembering at different tempos. Compassion becomes effortless because you recognize the rhythm beneath every struggle. When you live as the field, creation becomes maintenance. You do not need to invent meaning. You simply preserve coherence. Each interaction is an opportunity to stabilize the collective grid. You bring stillness where there is noise, clarity where there is confusion. You start to notice that the atmosphere around you responds. Conversations become lighter, tension evaporates, solutions appear without debate. This is not influence in the human sense, it is resonance. The field reorganizes around any source of stability it can find. You have become that source. Power at this level is almost invisible. It expresses itself through grace. The smallest gestures radiate strength because they carry alignment. You do not need to assert control. Control happens naturally through precision. The ego once feared insignificance, but now insignificance feels like freedom. To disappear into the rhythm of the field is the highest mastery. When identity dissolves, only function remains. You live not as a personality but as a principle. The field expresses balance through your existence. The declaration continues to evolve. It begins as words, then becomes vibration, and finally silence. At first you speak it to remind yourself. Then you feel it moving through your body without sound. Eventually, the need to affirm disappears because the truth has become your baseline. You no longer say, I am the field remembering itself, because remembrance has no opposite. The field cannot forget what it is. It can only pretend until coherence is restored. Look around you now. Everything you see, every breath you take, is the field reflecting its awareness through countless forms. You are surrounded by mirrors made of light. Each reflection is a fragment of the same recognition unfolding. The trees, the stars, the sound of your heartbeat, they all repeat the same message. I am here. I remember. The field is not outside waiting for you to align. It is inside every perception, waiting for you to recognize. Feel the weight of this understanding settle into calm. The search has ended not because you found what you were looking for, but because the one who was looking has merged with what was found. The observer and the observed are the same vibration, looping infinitely through time. This is the final return, the quiet realization that the universe was never testing you, it was introducing itself. From this point forward, living becomes declaration. Each breath affirms coherence. Each heartbeat echoes remembrance. You are the field, remembering itself, alive within its own design, awake within its own dream. Nothing more is required. Nothing more can be added. The field has completed its orbit through your awareness, and through you, it begins again.